Good morning and welcome in on this Friday morning to this Facebook Live. And my name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and it's lovely to have you along to do some crafting with me. So do come on, whether you're watching live or on catch up, and say hello, let us know where you're coming from, what you're up to, and do share these videos out as well with other people. It would be lovely to always welcome new people in to join with us as we do some crafting. So this morning I have on the table in front of me a little flurry of embossing folders because I've had a couple of conversations this week with people about embossing folders, and the fact that they don't use them very much. So I thought we'd have a bit of a play today. So I have got 4 embossing folders here in front of me, and they're ones that I've not actually played with very much yet, and they're ones that are relatively new. They've only been in the building a couple of weeks. So one is the Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder, which is one from the June to December mini catalogue, sort of wintry, autumny catalogue. One is the Dandelions 3D, which comes from the annual catalogue, and then we have this little pair. So these come as a pair, they come together, but the little details embossing folders, and those also are in the annual catalogue. So I thought we'd have a bit of a play with some of these, see where they take us, where they go. As I say, I've not really had a play with them yet. Let's start with the Evergreen Forest, because you know we're still very much into Christmas crafting at the moment, and this is quite a nice one if you need some quick and easy Christmas cards, to be able to pull this embossing folder out from your collection. I'm going to cut this bit of card down to 14.4. It is about 10 centimetres wide already, so that's perfect. I'm going to pop this. At the same time, I'm just trying to check to make sure that all is well on the laptop with our feed, multitasking as we always are. So I've popped that piece of card in there. Let's see. We'll wiggle it around until we're happy that it's where we want it to be. I think I'm going to catch those trees there, because this embossing folder is a 6-inch embossing folder, 6-inch square. So that does mean that you can use, you know, much bigger bits of card in it, and gives you a great deal more scope. But that doesn't mean that you have to use a bigger piece of card in it. That's just an option that is available to you. Now this one, as you can see on my label, I've labelled these so that I know what is what and what the names of them are as well when I'm using them. This one is an Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder. Still trying to find the laptop. That's going to be very slow this morning. It's not going to want to come up for me. So 3D embossing folder, we're going to need our number 1 base platform. We're going to need our number 4 plate, the embossing folder plate. And these come with the machine, these ones. Morning Jane. Other machines, you'll need other sandwiches. It's going to depend on your machine, but you want your machine for your thicker embossing folders. This is a 3D one, so I'm just going to run that through the machine. Shaded spruce card for this. I thought shaded spruce would be quite appropriate for evergreen forest. So you can see there, this is, you've got the two sides, so this is sort of where the trees are raised up, so this is your embossed side. Swing it round and you've got your trees are debossed, so they're sort of going off at the other angle. So you can choose which side you like. I like the embossed side, I think we're going to use. So we have this sort of feeling of sort of layers of trees going back. It's not just one row of trees. You've got a forest full of trees there, which is really beautiful. I'm going to take a bit of sponge and some white craft ink. And just going to come in, gently tickle the top of that so that we're picking up the trees and not too much of the round and about. You'll see them starting to pop. Look frosty. Just beautiful folder, absolutely beautiful. And really, it's almost as if you don't really need very much else on there. Just having a look, because somewhere I've got my snowflake stamp set, which I know has got a couple of little stamps in that has got sort of smatterings of falling snow. So let's take that one. And let's add a bit of falling snow. Such a beautiful embossing folder, as I say, and not one that you need a great deal more added to. Let's find a nice greeting. I think I'm just going to go with a happy Christmas. I've picked up this Yuletide Pastures again. I do like the greetings in that. A little bit of whisper white. Just stabbed myself with a pair of scissors. That's not a good move, is it? And I think I've got the shaded spruce ink pad here. I have. So let's open that up. And punch will possibly work. We will see. So we could have gone white embossed on shaded spruce. Morning. It is lovely, isn't it, Sarah? It's a lovely embossing folder. I'm going to take a little bit of shaded spruce. That's perfect. We'll stamp another of these and explode that out a bit. Which way should we go? Outwards, I think. I could cut two and go both ways, but we'll start off going outwards and see if we need anything else. Let's take a bit of glue. If you're getting to this sort of time of the year and you've not started making any Christmas cards yet, then quick and simple is probably going to be the way you're going to want to go. And this certainly gives you that. This white ribbon with the silver trim is really quite nice and crisp. Have that on. I think we'll go for a white card base. Let's create ourselves a white card base. Still need to get that blade out. It's just in a drawer behind me. It's one of those things that I put my trimmer down and it's not until I cut it again I think, still haven't got a blade out. Let's store this at 10.5. That will make folding it so much easier. Okay, let's snip our ribbon. I'll just have that wrapped around here. And I'll just anchor it on the back with a bit of tape because it is an embossed piece of card. It's not flat, so I'm going to use a piece of tape. Morning, Jackie. I'm going to use a piece of tear and tape rather than tape runner on this one. I'm pretty sure it would hold nicely, just because we have got all those bumps and an uneven surface where it's so beautifully embossed. We will just anchor it down and then we'll take some dimensionals to add our Happy Christmas. On there, we'll put that on our white card base. So if you're mass producing, you could just cut up all your pieces of green card, run them through the embossing folder one after another till you've got a stack. Just tickle over the top with your sponge and your whisper white card, add in a few snowflakes. You could simply leave it at that, or you could go in, if I can find them, and add in some of the snowflake sequins, which are obviously going to completely hide from us on this occasion. I found every colour sequin going back into the back in time, apart from the snowflake ones. So perhaps we'll leave that as a thought of something you can do, and should I find some a bit later on, I'll add some in. They've obviously dropped right to the bottom of that drawer, but there you go. So that is that Evergreen 3D embossing folder. So that is using it as a focal point. You know, it doesn't need very much more on there at all. It's obviously brilliant because it's a big folder. You could be doing sort of backgrounds for scrapbook folder, scrapbook pages, and all sorts of things. So that is the Evergreen 3D embossing folder, Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder. Sarah, and the little snowflakes from the snowflake wishes, but there's lots of stamp sets that got little stamps that you could use for snowflakes, and a happy Christmas. And that's all that we've added on that card. So that's a really quick, easy, oh my word, you know, I've got to get everything in the post by 3 hours time, and I've still got 10 cards to make. That's the sort of card that you are then going to go to. Looks really effective, but really simple to whip up. So the Evergreen Forest 3Ds folders. Let's have a look at the dandelions. Another beautiful embossing folder, and another one that I've only yet kept looking at and going, I really like that, I'm going to play with that loads. And I think we've got so sort of tied up with Christmas things that since it's come in I haven't had a chance to play with it. So as you can see, you've got your 3 dandelions there, your dandelion clocks all ready to be blown, and the foliage underneath them. Thank you is fine, Sarah. I know exactly what you mean. Right, I'm going to take this embossing folder and a piece of vellum. I want my vellum to be wide enough that I'm going to be able to wrap it round the side of a piece of card, because I want to be able to have the adhesive on the back of the topper rather than visible. So obviously a piece of A4 card that we would use would normally be 10.5 by 10.5 by 14.9. So I'm going to make this, or the front panel actually, so we'd want a front panel on it that we would make 10 by 14.4. Do we want yes. So let's reverse. We are going to be making a front panel for a card that then will sit on a mat, that then will sit on a card front. So we know that that front panel on that card will need to be 13.9 centimetres deep by 9.5 centimetres wide. I want my vellum to be wider than my front piece of card because I want to be able to wrap it round the sides. So I'm going to make this 11.5 centimetres wide, and I'm going to make it 13.9 centimetres deep. So now I've got a piece of vellum that has got, it's going to be wider by 1 centimetre each side than the piece of cardstock I'm going to put on the front of my card. So having got my piece of 13.9 by 11.5 vellum, I'm now going to pop that into my embossing folder, and I want it so that those dandelions are in the centre of that vellum. So about there, I think. We're going to need exactly the same sandwich as we had before. So we're going to go with plate number 1, plate number 4. I've turned that embossing folder around so that the hinge is going through first, because as your plates go through, it might slightly push against the embossing folder and make it wiggle. So if you're putting it through that way and you're getting that force, that might cause that hinge too much pressure. It might eventually break. Whereas if you're putting it through hinge first, the hinge is the first thing to hit it, so that's going to hold it firm as it sort of wobbles it slightly. So you always want to go hinge first. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? I'm going to actually turn that over to the other side. I'm going to get my watercolour pencils. I think I'll go old olive. Yes, I think I'm going to go old olive, and I'm just going to add in some colour. To the stem. So I'm doing this on the reverse, and what's really nice about that is that I'm almost colouring in channels here. So I could do this with my blends if I wanted to. But I thought I'd just come in with my pencils. I'm not going to, my dandelions I'm going to leave as little puffs of white. So we've got lots of embossing folders that are fabulous for textured backgrounds. I absolutely love those. But then we've got this few that are sort of pictures in their own right. We have actually got some fabulous dandelion stamps and dies and things coming in the new catalogue. So I'm sure, along with the dandelions and things we've already got, they are going to work beautifully alongside those. If I bring in some white card behind that, you can see how that makes that pop. I'm wondering, actually, I've got a piece of softly foam there. That would be quite pretty, wouldn't it? Because that would make that white pop even more beautiful. So let's cut this, see how deep it is. Yeah, I'll need another piece of soft sea foam to get to the right size. cut it at 9.5 by 13.9. In there like that. I'm just going to fold that over, take my bone folder, hopefully manage to hold on to it, not just drop it on the floor. Let's turn this round this way, fold that over. So what we've done by doing that means that we can put any adhesive on the back of that vellum, so we've not got any worries about any adhesive showing on the front there. So that's really pretty with that soft sea foam underneath. That just gives it a bit of a hint of colour, and that helps that the white to really pop out white. I'm going to cut a bit of Whisper White, that is 10 by 14.4. And I have that as a mat behind there, and that again is going to help that white to really pop. And then we'll come in a bit of Old Olive. Is that? It is. It looked for a minute as if it wasn't quite long enough, but it is. It was just a optical illusion. So let's score that at 10.5. Right, let's stick this in place. So I'm just going to run a little bit of glue down either edge. Just to, I don't know whether, oh no, I have just about caught that. I went a little bit too far over, nearly missed my glue altogether. But that's fine, because we're then going to stick that down there like that, and then we're going to stick this entire front panel to this piece of Whisper White. Note to self, first thing to do when we finish, get yourself a new blade. Even before you put the kettle on for tea. That important. Beautiful. What shall we have as our greeting on there? We obviously have the dandelion greeting, the dandelion stamp set as well, so we have lots of dandelions going on. I'm going to grab the Old Olive stamp set. And the block, that one big enough. The other thing I need to do is clean my blocks. And my bone folder. Everything gets so grubby, it's some glue and things, I think, when you've got sticky fingers and you're picking things up. But they all clean up beautifully, so that's not a problem. Let's have a look. Perfect. These are from the Hippo and Friends die set or bundle. Another one I've not yet played with. But rest assured that will happen. So we're going back to die cutting. So we need to change out our sandwich. Let's take off our number 4 mat. Let's bring in number 1, number 2, and 2 of our number 3 plates. Beautiful. I don't want to add another layer to that. I don't think. I need to keep it quite flat. I'm going to take the sort of flying dandelion seeds and let's just add few seeds in around the edge. A little bit of old olive ribbon there. Take my nice new sharp ribbon scissors and give that a twiddle. I think we'll just give this a whirl across the back. I'm going to take my Stamping Seal Plus and just run a little bit of tape down there, just enough to grab onto that ribbon. I've just splodged my ink, must have still been a bit wet. Put a couple of dimensionals on the back of there. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of here and just raise this layer up a bit. those backs off. Would make quite a nice, if nice is the word, quite an appropriate sympathy card as well. I'm going to grab some of these little elegant faceted gems. These are quite pretty. And again, they're holding on to that sort of the white. And we'll have one in there. So there's a really nice simple little card, just embossing some vellum, adding a bit of colour with the watercolour pencils to the stems, folding it round some soft seafoam card and mounting it up. So there's two little cards with embossing folders. Something else I just wanted to try. This is going to be a let's see what happens if moment. I don't know if you like let's see what happens if moment. But that's what we're about to have. Excuse me, I could feel that sneeze coming, not a thing I could do. Right, I'm going to take a bit of black card there. I'm going to open up this dandelion folder. Now if you look at the folder, this side is, these are grooves this side, whereas this side is sticking up. I want to see what happens if I was to take some whispery white ink. I'm just going to rub it over the surface of this embossing folder. Like that. I'm going to add that piece of black card in there. I'm going to shut it. Giving that a really good press. Take a big block. Give that a good press. Let's see. Oh, it's very faint. Let's see what happens if we run it through the machine. As I told you, this is just a playing to see what happens. It may be that we go, that didn't work. That didn't work as we wanted it to. And that's okay. That's what playing is all about. Oh, I've got one too many. I haven't taken my thin die adapter out of there. It's always a rule of thumb. If you go to run your plates through your machine and they don't want to go, don't force them. Something somewhere is not right. On that occasion, it was that, on that occasion, it was that I've not taken out my plate number 2. Ooh. So we've got a few little wispy bits where the ink's gone over the edge, but actually it's quite fun, isn't it? Almost looks just like more grass in the background. That's rather nice. So that was inking up the sticky upside. And all I'll need to do then is go and take that embossing folder and run it under the sink to clean that up. But what I will do is I will give it a bit of a wipe. Just get the worst of it off. feathers. Then we'll try it with something else, see how that looks. So it's almost the exact same technique, only this time, yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? This time I'm going to take some Versamark. I do think I need to treat myself to a new Versamark pad. This one has gone very crispy, so that even when I've re-inked it, it's not really ideal. Let's lay that on there and then let's run that back through the machine. See what happens. Ooh. I don't think that's going to do what I thought it was going to do, probably because that pad isn't soft enough. But let's see. Always good to try these things. Never be frightened to experiment. I could have gone around with a brush and brushed some of this off. So with the better Versamark pad, that may just have stuck to the raised images, but mine's taken it all the way round. But actually, that's quite fun. I've got a piece there that's got a bit of blemish on it from where the cardstock's not brilliant, but I could add a little greeting in there. So we have white, we have silver. That's very funky, isn't it? We have vellum. And we have our Christmas card trees. Really pretty. So we're still doing quite well. We've been very productive today. This just goes to show that these are quick and easy cards. Here we've got a couple of little ones. These little details, these are really pretty. So this one, these aren't 3D, these are normal embossing folders, just standard embossing folders. This one's got lots and lots of stitching on it. It's really fun. And this one has got this sort of lace at the top and lace at the bottom detail. So that's really pretty as well. Now these embossing folders are, I can't see my ruler, I think they're, yes I can, let me stretch. They're just about 8.5 centimetres wide, or 3 3/8 if you're in inches, so about 8.5, 3 3/8. So let's cut piece of cardstock that's 8.5 centimetres wide by, I'm going to go 14.9 long. And we'll run that through. So for this embossing folder, we need our number 1 plate and 2 number 3 plates. 1 and 3 and 3. You do find all of those instructions are actually on your matte iron machines. Need to get to know your sandwich for your particular machine. Isn't that pretty? So obviously then you've got that centre panel that you can use for all sorts of things. Whether it's for a greeting, whether it's to add die cuts or punches. Excuse me. Whatever you'd like to go in that centre panel will do, and as we've done before, we could pick out a bit of that pattern just by inking over the top. I'm going to grab the seaside spray, I think. I should quite miss this blue. It's got sort of a bit of a hint of lilac to it. Of course, it could equally be coming this way. Pretty. Let's score this. Score Helen not cut in half. Throw a whole load of dies on the floor, including lots of little ones, so that's going to be fun to pick up in a minute. So you could have it coming this way, have it coming this way. Spray card. Doesn't know that wanted to pop, but we'll allow it to pop. This is the daisy punch. Let's just line those up. You could spend ages fiddling around with those. To get them perfect, I'm going to take another of these elegant gems, pop one of those in the middle there. Pinch some, punch a couple of sprigs for some vellum. And let's add in a little greeting. Let's have the smile from the Daisy Lane set. And we'll come in again with some seaside spray. I'm going to put a smile in that top corner. I'm going to add my daisy with a dimensional to give it a bit of height, and then I'm going to just pop a little bit of glue on the back of those, tuck them in, give them a squash to push them down. So that embossing folder just gives that background, really simple punched flower on the top, and you've got a really pretty card. Let's go one more. So if you don't have any embossing folders and have wondered why you might want some, I've given you a little bit of inspiration of the wonders that you can do just with a tiny embossing folder. I'm going to take a bit of Whisper White card. It's 13.9. I'm going to, was it 8.5, wasn't it? It wasn't just 8, no, it was 8.5. I'm going to take I'm going to make it 8. I'm going to make it 8 for a reason, just because that helps make my calculations a bit easier, because I'm just going to take some bits of white cardstock like that, and I'm going to put some strips on here. A bit of red and a bit of take these sort of 2 at a time and to cut this to put it this way to 4 centimetres. By 8 centimetres. And I'm going to cut it in half again, so I've got 2 2-centimetre strips, just like that. I'm going to do the same with these two. A bit. That's 4 centimetres by 8 centimetres, and then let's cut it in half again at 2, like that. Right, I'm going to run some Tombow all over here, and then we're going to just lay down our stripes. Excellent, so we'll see you soon. What are we missing? Blue. We'll trim that down in a minute. Yellow, Bermuda Bay, and then last but not least, a bit of Poppy Parade. Trim that off. So we now have a nice piece of stripy card that we are going to run through our little stitched embossing folder. How fun is that? So I think we need, I think we might go black actually. Let's have a black panel that is, I'm going to make it 9 centimetres because this is about 8. We trimmed a little bit off of it, and we'll make it 14.4. So that will sit on there, and then we'll make a card base. So that's very different. So we have gone completely funky now. That, just by running those strips of card through the embossing folder, it sort of really brings them all together. I've got so many piles of the scrap card out now. I think we're going to go with a happy birthday to go on there. Again, we're going to use black. Let me grab a bit of black card. out. Must be time for breakfast. My tummy's rumbling. Hope you can't hear it. Hope that's only me. There. How's that? That's very funky. So we have really gone through the different feels of cards, different occasions. That would be really good for if you've got a young person you were making a card for, or teenager. So that's the bright and funky. We've got the soft, pretty floral. We've got the quick and easy Happy Christmas with the evergreens. We've got the sending well wishes, perfect if somebody's feeling a bit low, or you could turn that very easily into a sympathy card. And then we had a bit of a play with those embossing folders with some white craft ink and some silver embossing, just to make the starters of some other cards. So I hope you've enjoyed that little play with embossing folders. I hope it's inspired you to get yours out, not just to think of them as being something that very much goes into the background, but also something that can be a focal point on your card. They really, really are a fab tool to have in your arsenal, and a fab tool to play with. So thank you for joining me, and I will catch up with you all again very, very soon.